how can democracy be Islam? Because Islam teaches that the rule is for Allah. Democracy has nothing to do with Islam, and Islam, walhamdulillah, has nothing to do with democracy. Islam does not have democracy. Either the person who said this does not know what democracy is, or they do not know what Islam is. One of the two things.
Safeguard your iman, safeguard yourself from punishment of hellfire, safeguard yourself from the level of apostasy, stay away from the elections, do not vote.
Allah gave us this deen, al-Islam, to follow, not the deen of the kuffar. Whoever imitates the kuffar, he is one of them, he'll be raised with one of them. They stand for all the things that Allah has forbidden, and yet you want to stand for it. As Muslims prohibited to vote for Taghut, as Muslims prohibited to vote for Taghut.
Democracy is Islam. Let's deal with that. Democracy is Islam. Subhanallah. What is democracy? Again, in my shallow and simplistic interpretation of things, but historically correct. You can check in the dictionary or any book on political ideology. Democracy is a system that claims or teaches that the rule is for the people. The people decide in democracy what is allowed and what is not allowed, what is forbidden and what is not forbidden. This is what democracy means. Democracy means the rule of the people. Anyone who knows what democracy is, anyone who knows the meaning of democracy, knows that that's what it means. So, how can democracy be Islam? Because Islam teaches that the rule is for Allah. That Allah is the sovereign. Allah alone has the right and the authority, God alone has the right and the authority to decide what is halal and what is haram, what is good and what is evil. Therefore, whoever attributes and whoever claims that people have that right has made shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, democracy is nothing except pure shirk and kufr of the highest order. It is shirk and kufr. So this is like saying kufr is Islam. Shirk is Islam. Subhanallah. Democracy has nothing to do with Islam, and Islam, walhamdulillah, has nothing to do with democracy. Democracy is a system where any evil can be made allowed. Any evil, you name it. You name the evil. It can be not only made allowed, it could be made obligatory. Homosexuality can be made not only legal. If they wanted, you could have compulsory lessons in homosexuality, if they wanted, in a democratic society, if enough of them decided. Is this Islam? Does Islam allow you to vote in and out the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is what is the meaning of democracy. The sovereignty is with the people. Islam says the sovereignty is with Allah. What Allah made haram is haram, and what Allah made halal is halal, and it does not change. It stays the same. This is Islam. If some people say, oh, we have shura in Islam. Shura is shura. It's not democracy, it's a different thing. Shura is when a few of the most knowledgeable and pious and trustworthy people amongst the Muslim community come together to decide who should be the next Khalifa. This is nothing to resemble democracy whatsoever. However, I'm glad someone brought this up, because this is a perfect example of the Coca-Cola Muslim mentality. People who have become so infatuated with the West. They look at the West, oh the technology, oh the this, oh the West, it's so, they've become so infatuated and so embarrassed about their religion that they now have to say that look, we have democracy. You see, Islam has democracy, it's called shura. Think about it like this. Imagine we lived in a time, we lived in a time where there was this civilization, powerful civilization with powerful technology, economically, militarily dominant. And their system was prostitution. They had a system of prostitution. If a man wanted to go with a woman, he visited a prostitute. That was it. That's all they had, prostitution. And that was the accepted norm. And they said, this is the way, prostitution is the good way, it's civilized, it's this and that. You see the woman, she gets paid and, she gets looked after and, she's not exploited and, there you go, you see, it's justice. And you uncivilized people. And so someone comes along and says, we Muslims, we've got prostitution too. It's called nikah. You see, the woman, we get married to her and we give her mahar, a dowry, we pay her some money. We've got prostitution as well. Yes? Because what? Because you're so affected by someone, you want to say, we've got democracy? Islam does not have democracy. Either the person who said this does not know what democracy is, or they do not know what Islam is. One of the two things. Or the worst thing would be that they know what democracy is, and they know what Islam is, but they still say this. May Allah protect us. Subhanallah.
Tell me why you're protesting today. You've been outside polling stations, haven't you? What is the problem?
Yeah, what is, we as Muslims, we believe God is the only legislator, and He has already legislated for us a law, which is the Sharia law. And we as Muslims, we should obviously follow that law rather than follow any man-made legislation. Because as Muslims, we believe obviously that divine law supersedes and overtakes any other man-made legislation.
What does that say then to the hundreds of people, thousands perhaps even, who are turning out, Muslim, non-Muslim, whoever they are, to vote today?
Yeah, see what it is, the majority of the people that are voting for because they believe they're going to gain some benefit. But obviously for us as Muslims, we believe that the greatest benefit is to uphold the right of God. Because this is the most important reason we've been created for, which is to worship God. So for us as Muslims, this ultimate benefit is what we want to preserve. And whether we have to give up some benefit in this life, obviously it's worth it for us.
What about Muslim candidates? I met one just now down at a polling station just on Waldeck Road.
See, ultimately, these Muslim candidates will have to compromise. And the greatest compromise is obviously in terms of their belief. Obviously, if you believe there is legislation out there, the Sharia law, then obviously you must follow that. But obviously, they're following a different law. And what we can see that many of these Muslim candidates, they get involved in councils, which allow alcohol, obviously give licenses, allow licenses for gambling, and other situations which contradict obviously Islam and the Sharia.
Why is there no room for compromise then, as far as you're concerned? Because democracy brings good as well as bad, doesn't it?
See, what it is, it's an issue of if you believe in a creator, the creator is the one that can give you a way of life. And he has legislated for us a way of life. Now, either we have the option, you have the option of following his way of life or following your own way of life. And if you want to have that freedom, then okay, you can have that freedom in this life. But then God is free to do whatever he wishes in the next life.
So finally then, what do you hope to achieve by protesting?
See, what it is, we're just trying to make awareness for the Muslims and obviously even for society in general, that if we want a solution, if we want a real solution, then we need to look to Islam, we need to look to a real alternative, and obviously God has already given us a solution for all of mankind's problems.
How has that gone down with people that you've seen around Bury Park?
See, what it is, for many of the Muslims, they're looking for short-term gains, we say. They want benefit now, rather than engaging in the struggle. But obviously those, every single Muslim, even the non-Muslims, they know the law of a Muslim is Sharia. So obviously, ultimately, they all want to follow the Sharia and follow Islam and see an Islamic state established, not just for the benefit of the Muslims, but also for the benefit of greater society.
These councillors, they do not stand for Islam. These councillors promote the alcohol in the off licenses and in the nightclubs, and they allow prostitution and for women to dance naked in the strip joints. This is what the councillors will promote. They will allow the homosexual marriages. This is what you stand for with your badges of Conservative and Labour. They stand for all the things that Allah has forbidden, and yet you want to stand for it. Allah gave us a deen that is pure and beautiful. The deen of Islam, the deen of submission, that no one has a right to be obeyed, worshipped or followed except Allah. And He's given us a deen of Islam to follow and implement and to establish. But you want to establish the deen of David Cameron or the deen of David Miliband. or the deen of neglect? Is that the deen that you wish to promote? No, my brothers, as Muslims, we have the deen of Islam, we have the Sharia. Do not promote these false idols, these false gods that only want to take you away to the hellfire. As Muslims, it's prohibited to vote for a ta'ghut.
My dear Muslims, make tawbah. Don't go and vote, my dear Muslims. Inna ash-shirka la dhulmun azim. You can do anything, my dear Muslims. Allah will forgive you. What Allah will not forgive, my dear Muslims, if you make shirk with Him. What are you going to say, my dear Muslims, when you face Allah and you have a different ilah that you have worshipped?
Don't vote. Safeguard your Islam, safeguard your Iman. Voting for this party will only take you to hellfire. Stay Muslim.
Do you know the Conservative Party are killing Muslims at the moment? You don't know that? Do you know that?
So it is the killing
Is the Conservative? I'm here to forbid people like you. But not people like you that do not that go against Islam and Muslims. They should be condemned. You should fear Allah. Do you think that Conservative Party gonna take you to Jannah?
Vote, safeguard your Iman, safeguard your Islam, stay away from the political parties. They will only take you to hellfire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Innal hukma illa lillah. The rule, the legislation is for none but Allah. Safeguard your Iman, safeguard yourself from punishment of hellfire, safeguard yourself from the level of apostasy. Stay away from the elections. Do not vote.
Uncle, voting is not allowed. Voting is not allowed. You know, this Labour Party, for how many years have they been killing Muslims in Iraq and Afghanistan?
Do your complaint.
Brother, it's red from the blood of the Muslims. How many Muslims have been killed by the Labour Party?
And your leader, and your Nabi, and your prophet, because you took him beside the Messenger.
You are freeing yourself from the party of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are freeing yourselves from the Quran and the Sunnah. Allah gave us this deen, al-Islam, to follow. Not the deen of the kuffar. Whoever imitates the kuffar, he is one of them. He'll be raised with one of them. Have some shame. You are Muslim. You are not kuffar. So stand with Islam and follow the Quran, follow the Sunnah, and have some shame. Follow the Quran, follow the Sunnah, and have some shame.
غرباء وارتضيناها شعارا للحياة إن تسل عنا فإنا لا نبالي بالطغاة نحن جند الله دوما دربنا درب الأباء غرباء 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 لن نبالي بالقيود بل سنمضي للخلود لن نبالي بالقيود بل سنمضي للخلود فلنجاهد ونناضل ونقاتل من جديد غرباء